It's hard to imagine that the young woman calling herself Beatrice will be waiting for me alone. I should probably assume that she'll be waiting with those supporting troops that Goda-san and Kumasawa-san told us about. Going alone would be too reckless.
Goda-san! Kumasawa-san!
I headed for the gardening storehouse first. I need all the help I can get. Goda-san's a burly man, so I can probably count on him to add some extra brawn. Kumasawa-san's knowledge and familiarity with the area as a senior servant might prove to be a huge weapon. Both of them have master keys, and they know more about the mansion than I do. They are pretty reliable allies. As I banged on the shutter and called out for them to open it, I remembered that there was nothing they could do from on the outside. I would have to get the key back from them and open the shutter myself. I went around to the side, knocked on a small lattice window there, and opened up.
Goda-san! Kumasawa no ba-chan! Batora da! Oi! Okinotte! Oh!
In the scene in the shed, lit by a dim light bulb, it's all too bizarre.
Goda-san...
Well, I knew it wouldn't be so easy for them in the end.
Kumasawa...
From a low ceiling beam hung two thick ropes, and at the ends, Goda and Kumasawa-san are hanging by their necks. What? That's how their deaths are presented this time? You gotta be kidding me. He was dead, and I was looking through a narrow gap between all the various pieces of equipment strewn about, so I couldn't make out any more detail than that. But when they showed not even a tremor after I called out to them, and because of the way the loops around their necks seemed to carry the full weight of their bodies, I could sense no trace of life from them.
Sonna... Uso... Taro... Doushite...
The shutter is still closed, and there's only a single key, which I'm sure Goda-san took possession of. So how did the culprit open the shutter and kill the two of them inside? Well, that's simple. The culprit managed to get Kumasawa and Goda to open the door on purpose, and, well, then they killed him. Either they were forced at gunpoint to commit suicide, or the culprit killed them and hanged them to make us think it was suicide. Like, I saw some blood there, so I don't know if we're talking about them committing suicide, like just like that. And one thing we can say for sure is that the shutter is closed. Like, we cannot check to see if Goda or Kumasawa still have the key. Our culprit forced them to throw the key outside the window. The culprit used the key to open the door, and then once they did what they did, they closed it with the key. And, well, they more than likely still have it on them. Or the key was thrown back inside through the window. I don't know. Do we have like any method of checking this? I'm not sure. No, wait. They weren't necessarily killed. This is a suicide. In that way, this locked room makes sense. But I don't know why the two of them would hang themselves. Feebly, I slumped down on the spot. The only humans alive on this island are me, Maria, My old bastard's old bastard. No. There's also that nutso woman Koikos of Beatrice. Maria's been acting like she's on the witch's side from the beginning. And Grumps is the very person who revived the witch. Plus, there's the witch herself. What the hell? Then, it's just as though I'm the only one on this island. Might as well. Using my paw as cane, I feebly rose to my feet. Damn. I cannot do it like this. I've got to avenge everyone.
くしょーダメだぜ全然ダメだちくしょー
I got the crying out of the way while I could, so that all my weak emotions would be squeezed out with my tears. I wouldn't call those weak emotions, though. Then, I straightened up and gazed into the darkness and direction of the mansion. At the entrance to the mansion, the witch is waiting. I'll go and settle this. I'll find the source of this weird blood-soaked night and crush her feet with my own hands. Amidst the pouring rain, I walked through the rose garden without an umbrella, letting myself get soaked. I could see the arbor in the distance. According to Jessica, it seemed that George Aniki had also been killed. Well, by this point, there's no need to worry about the lives of any hostages. I left the path, aiming for the arbor. Then, I saw George Aniki's weather-beaten corpse.
兄貴ちくしょ
And the corpse was in front of the arbor. If he could have died under the arbor, he would at least have been spared being beaten down upon by the rain. It would seem that only George's death is confirmed over here. I mean, I guess... Corpse discovered by the rose garden. There was a single hole right in the center of his forehead. Seems reasonable to think that he was shot with a gun or something. It was a brand of humiliation, marking his loss to God. I mean, I can understand that the other adults, we don't really see their deaths being confirmed over here. I mean, Beller didn't really see the corpses himself. Kraus, Nazi, Herald, Rudolph. But we didn't really get like any profiles for Kumasawa and Gora though. He did get to see them dead, like inside the storehouse, and yet their profiles have not been updated yet. There was a gaping hole in Lanki's forehead, as though he had been shot with a gun. Perhaps because the rain had washed everything away, his face wasn't covered with blood, and so he looked almost like he was sleeping. However, the deep red his clothes were stained still provided the evidence that a large amount of blood had flowed out. How happy I'd be if you were sleeping, whereas pretending to be dead. But Aniki's eyes remained open. even though the rain sprayed against him. And he had... Actually, I was about to say that his eyes are teary, that he has tears in his eyes, but I can always say for sure. It could be the glasses. And the hole in his forehead was, without the hint of a joke, the real thing. There had been a faint chance that Goda-san and Kumasawa-san hanging by their necks in the gardening shed could have been a bad joke. But that naive possibility had now been completed tonight. And as I looked at his corpse, I became completely sure. Just as Goda-san had once said, the enemy came to take lives as though these lives were pieces on a chessboard. I mean, it makes me think. A shot with a gun in the head would be insta-kill. So if George cried, then that would mean that he cried before his death. Which would mean that he suffered before. Which, yeah, you know, I guess it makes sense. Like, you're about to die. Like, maybe someone was aiming at him at gunpoint. Like, if he was crying, then this death over here was definitely not... It definitely not happened in an instant, like, with a surprise. George knew that he was gonna get killed.
間違いない。クソジジイと魔女は俺たちの命なんてね。本当にその程度にしか思ってないらしい。
That damn witch. When she was on the phone, she talked about us like we were on the game board.
上等だぜ。そうかよ。こいつはゲームのつもりかよ。なら、お前らがみんなをゲームみたいに殺したように、俺がお前らをゲームのように殺してもいいわけだよな。首を洗ってやがれ。ベアトリーチェ。
The lightning caused the mansion's vast shadow to emerge. Finally, in the mansion. As the master's shape came into view, there was no silhouette of any person. It seemed that there weren't any underlings waiting for me in a pack, or anything like that. According to Kirie-san, there were a large number of attendants with goat heads. At least for now, I couldn't sense any large group like that hiding and staring at me. What's this? Beneath the roof of the entrance, there's something set down.
なんだよ、これは。箱か？
It looked like kind of a small box that girls often keep trinkets in. Or maybe it was the same kind of extravagant cigar case you'd find in the reception room. Either way, it didn't look like something that belonged here. It clearly looked as though I was being told to open it. But the thought of doing what they wanted me to do was somehow irritating. However, it didn't look like we'd get anywhere if I didn't open it. Could it be that it's set up with some trap to make it explode when opened? I mean, that will be a slap in the face, if that's the case. While thinking things like that, and forgetting even to go under the overhang, I continued to glare at the box as the rain beat down upon me. Then, mixed in with the thunder, was some kind of music? It sounded like something like that. was the tone of the big clock in the hall announcing midnight. It was also the sound that announced that the crazy day of October 4th had finally ended, and that the much more incredibly crazy day of October 5th had begun. And that sound quietened, and I could hear an ear laugh coming out of nowhere. I got the feeling that the voice was coming from the heavens, and I looked up at the sky. And there was a woman I had never seen before. No, it's not true that I've never seen her before. I saw her once today. Yeah, in a portrait inside the mansion. The clothes were different, but that face was just like the witch of the portrait. Who am I kidding? I already know who this person is. Hello there, Beato. Leaning over the second floor balcony and waving cheerily from under her umbrella was without a doubt the witch of the portrait, Beatrice. Was the plan for the boss to watch on from above as her gold underlings torture me to death? I adjusted my grip on the spear, and, imagining goats creeping out of the surrounding shadows and the entrance and surrounding me, I raised my guard in all directions.
安心しろよ。ここにはわらわとお前以外の誰もいねえぜ。ヤギの家具どももいなければ、悪魔の執事もお師匠様も、我が親友の悪魔もいない。そして、我が肉体の蘇生を手伝う黄金の長たちもいなければ、魔法陣もない。召喚者の立ち会いもない。その意味が、そなたにわかるかな？
さっぱりだぜ。
That this could very well be a human claim perspective, which is a relief. But even if you were to show us magic here, it will not affect me whatsoever.
寝言言ってろ。
そなたとは確かにこの世界でも何度か会えてはきたのだ。まるですれ違うかのようにね。知っての通り、この人間どもの世界はただ貴様らが存在し、わらわを疑うだけで、それは膨大な毒素となる。まるでそなたというキングに対して守りを固める堅牢な城壁のようよ。それをわらわは何度もゲームを重ね、駒を一つずつ進め、切り崩し、追い込み、じわじわとそなたの城壁を切り崩していった。そしてようやくわずかの隙間を開き、そこからわらわはビショップを送り込み、そなたのすぐ近くに近づけるようになった。しかし知っての通り、ビショップは資格のある駒だ。黒のビショップはそなたが黒きマスにとどまる限り絶大な影響力を発揮する。そなたがひょいと白きマスに一歩逃れれば、わらわはそなたの隣に接することはできても接触することはかなわぬのだ。だからわらわはそなたが白きマスにとどまれぬようさまざまな駒を送り込む。そなたの隣の黒きマスを支配するわらわの前に弾き出されるようにゲームを進めてきたのだ。しかし今やそなたの城壁はぽっかりと穴を開け、わらわはビショップではなくとうとうクイーンを送り込むことができた。クイーンがどういう駒か知っているか？
You mean to say that The black squares represent the magic world, and the white blocks represent the human world. Throughout all these games, you kept pushing Battler towards believing in magic, using all sorts of tricks and servants. Like, the bishop would more than likely represent, like, the demon stakes, the Chester sisters, like the witches and or the demons it kept sending. And I could take a wild guess and say that the queen is you, but what kind of piece a queen is? No, I couldn't tell you.
飛車プラス角だろ。言いてえことはこうかよ。今やお前は黒い魔女幻想のマスだけでなく白い人間世界のマスにまで自由に侵食できるようになったと。
その通り。そなたはわらわの眷属である黄金の蝶たちが存在するマスのことを魔女幻想と呼び、観測者なき非現実と仮定して否定してきたのだろう。知っておるぞ。だからこそわらわはこうしてとうとう白きマスへ降臨した。安心しろよ。黄金の蝶もヤギたちも悪魔も魔女も後でいっぱい呼んでやるぜ。そなたが望むならわらわの黄金鏡へ招待してやる。そこで何でも願いを叶えてやろうぜ。
どうやらこの島のチェス盤はインク壺でもぶっかけちまったみたいだな。
So what you're trying to say is that envisioning the human claims is turning out much more difficult. I get that. And you've done so by slowly making everyone believe in the vision of magic existing. And now you're trying to do the same with Battler here. By making us think that even in the human world, witches and demons exist.
なるほど。それも愉快な表現よ。すぐにそなたもそのインクに染まるぞ。やがては真っ黒に染まり、必ず黒きキングになる。そなたは今もインクの海に溺れる哀れな存在であるな。
いや違う。島がてめえのインク壺で全て真っ黒に染まっちまったことは認めるが、白いマスはまだ残ってるぜ。
ほう、どこに？
俺の足の裏にだぜ。お前の魔法のインクが島中を覆い尽くそうと、俺が踏みしめる足の裏までは覆えない。いけん。この島が真っ黒に染まろうと、俺は俺だ。白いマスをこうして踏みしめて立っている。
It's strange. Until a second ago, I was trembling all over. And now that she's appeared openly right before my eyes like this, my terror has actually lessened. It's funny. Ghosts are most terrifying when you can only sense them. When you can see them, and they have a face you can plant your fist into, there's nothing scary about it. However, she's definitely not a funny or a friendly person. She can kill me instantly while rolling around giggling, just by snapping a finger. Whether we interpret the result of her snapping her fingers as magic flying at me or underlings showing up to shoot me, it doesn't matter. In any case, whether this is a fantasy or a mystery, that queen is in a position where she can kill me just by snapping her fingers. Okay, well, you know what, Beatrice? You just really love talking in riddles. You just love talking in chess metaphors all this time. Like you keep talking about covering Balor in black ink, like all these games, but I want to ask, why? Why is it so important for you to do this? Why Balor? Why is he the only one standing on the white square at this point? I see. So this is the meaning of the Queen of the Silent, who reigns over both the white and black squares.
さて、この雨の中、そなたが風邪をひくまで待つのも面白いが、そこに箱があるのがわかる。そなたへのテストはその中に入っている。
待ちな。俺はもう今さら次期投手が誰かなんてくだらねえゲームには興味ねえぜ。俺のゲームはクソジジイとお前とみんなを殺した奴ら全員にそれぞれ顔面パンチをぶち込むことだ。
ほう、わらわのこのバルコニーまで空を飛び上がってくるというのか。それはよい、それはよい。ならばほら、早く来いよ。ほらほら、パンパン。
絶対安全な場所に嫌がるからって余裕ぶっこきやがって。今からそこに行くぞ。首を洗って待ってやがれ。
ダメダメ。鍵がかかっているぞ。もちろん窓もすべて鎧戸を下ろしてある。そなたが短期で切り込めるほどわらわの城は脆くはない。
I tried the front door anyway, just in case, but yeah, here it was locked. When I looked around, I noticed that indeed the shutters were closed on the windows. Normally they would be.
用意周到なやつだぜ。鍵はどこだ。
Ganasan and Konasan probably have master keys, but they are in the locked room of the garden storehouse. I can only give up for now.
くそ。やつもバカじゃねえってか。
そんなにわらわのすぐ隣に来たいのか。いいぞ。そなたがテストに見事合格できたら謁見を許そうではないか。合格ということはそなたこそが次期当主、そしてわらわの次なる主。わらわの肉体も魂もどう扱おうとそなたの自由よ。わらわは所詮は後宮家の家具なのだから。
どうやらテストってやつをどうしてもやらせたいらしいな。
The Shiromiya family's furniture. Interesting choice of words there, Beatrice.
いいぜ。受けて立ってやら。合格したら最初のご褒美はてめえに顔面パンチだぜ。
それは怖い怖い。だが暴力に支配されるのも嫌いではないぞ。わらわの頭をこうわしづかみにして苦痛に表情を歪めさせ、鷹がその爪で獲物を引き裂きかきむしるようにわらわを蹂躙してくれよ。ああ、若き日の金蔵をもう一度思い出させておくれ。わらわにこの1000年の生涯でただ一度支配され屈服し家具に落ちる喜びを教えてくれたあの日のことを思い出させてくれよ。
酔っ払いね。拉致が開かねえ。
Ignoring the stupidly smiling witch, I picked up the box.
そうだ、それを開け。中に手紙がある。 それを読むのだ。
I opened it. There was a faint smell of cigarettes. Apparently, it really had originally been a cigar case. But there were no cigarettes or cigars inside. Instead, there was a Western envelope with a one-winged eagle crest. And when I opened that too, there was a letter inside. I looked up at the witch. She was grinning down at me. It seemed she was waiting in anticipation to see what kind of reaction I have to the contents. Damn it. I'll show her. Its contents were like this. Among the three mentioned below, in order to gain 2, sacrifice 1. 1. Your life. Everyone else's lives. If you do not choose one, all the above will be lost.
なんだこりゃ。随分と物騒なことが書かれてるぞ。
And the second option's name is blank. Yeah. How lovely of you to do that.
それより、2番目が空欄になってて、誰の命か分かりゃしねえ。
その2番には、そのものの最も愛する者の名が入る。ジェシカのテストにはカノンの名、ジョージのテストにはシャノンの名が入った。彼らについては思い人がはっきりしていたから、あらかじめ名前を記入してやれもしたが、そなたの思い人をわらわは知らぬ。だから誰の名を書けばいいやらわからず、空欄とさせてもらった。
そいつはちょうどいいや。愛してるぜ、ベアトリーチェ。お前の名前をここに突っ込んでやる。だから俺が選ぶ選択肢は2番だ。これでいいか？
おいおい、茶化すな茶化すな。なあ、頼むよバトラー。お前の思い人の名をわらわに教えてくれよ。じゃないとテストにならぬではないか。
悪いな。俺に特定の女はいねえぜ。仮にいたって誰がお前なんぞに話すもんか。
そういうことではこのテストはそなたに成立せぬ。残念残念。そなたの思い人がどのような女か好みくらいは気になったのだがな。
俺が黒髪長髪のまな板少女がいいって言ったらどうするよ。お前とは一つも一致しねえぜ。
The closest to that will be Ben Castell, but...
嘘をつけ、このおっぱいソムリエが。金髪のダイナマイトバディがいいんだろ。
Oh, Beatrice. You see right through us. It's true. I personally loved you ever since I laid my eyes on you. With those delicious legs. Dynamite body.
わらわがまさに理想の体現ではないか。
お前の3サイズを当てるのが次期投手のテストだってんなら喜んで挑戦してやるぜ。
I mean, Bella Ray is an expert in that.
そうそう、次期投手のテストであったな。そなたと喋るのが楽しくてついついさっきから脱線してしまうわ。それでは次期投手のテストを始める。そなたに後ろ宮家次期投手としての資格があるかどうかを問う。心して答えるがよい。
The witch, who had been joking around like she was drunk until a second ago. suddenly regained her gravitas. She looked as though she truly had stepped out from that imposing portrait.
我こそは後宮家顧問錬金術師、黄金の魔女にして無限の魔女ベアトリーチェ。後宮家の家督と我が黄金のすべてを継承する資格があるかどうか、それをわらわが問う。そなたの名を名乗るがよい。
後宮バトラだ。
Under that majestic gaze, unimaginable from her manner a short while ago, I answered without any hesitation. She truly was. Yeah, indeed. In the truest sense, she was that worthy of calling herself the Queen of the Silent.
よろしい。後宮バトラよ。しかしそなたはその後宮の名をこの6年捨てたであろう。それはなぜか。
クソ親父に愛想が尽きたからさ。
知っている。父親の再婚がそなたの敬愛する母親の死を冒涜したように感じたからであろう。なるほど。新しき母はそなたと何の血のつながりもない。そなたがその母を受け入れられぬ気持ちはわからぬでもない。しかし父親が誰と再婚しようともそなたとの血のつながりは変わらぬのではないか。
何が言いてえ。
父親の再婚に反対するという父親を独占したいがゆえのそなたの幼稚も多少の理解はしよう。しかしそれに反抗するために後宮の名を捨てるは家と血に対する冒涜ではないのか。そなたは後宮に生まれ育まれてきたのではないか。その恩を忘れ後宮の名を捨てる資格がそなたにあったというのか。
お前には関係ねえ。
I mean, is this really the reason why you had Beller go through all this? Just because he decided to leave the family? I mean, I'm having my doubts that is the reason, but if it is, how does it affect you in any way?
俺と親父の問題だ。
後宮の名はお前と父親だけのものではない。お前は知らぬ女に父親を奪われることを許せず反抗しただけの幼稚だ。後宮家の籍を捨て去ったこの6年間はそなたが後宮家に泥を塗りし短からぬ年月、その罪深きを知るがいい。
幼稚で悪かったな。
しかし祖父母の死を境とはいえよくぞ後宮に籍を戻した。よってその罪を自ら見そぐ機会をそなたに与えよう。今こそそなたの6年前の罪をあがなう時。さあさあ思い出してごらんなさい。自らの罪を。それを思い出し告白し懺悔せよ。それこそわらわがそなたに与えるテストである。
At that moment, a massive thunderclap rang out, making my mind go blank. So him leaving the family was the thing that started this entire thing. The whole shebang about him challenging him to these games. Thing is though, him leaving the family is more than likely not the thing that Beatrice considers a sin, but rather something else that was created because of him leaving the family. I think that might actually be it.
Zangeせよってなんだよ。謝れって言いたいのかよ。
もうテストは始まっているぞ。そなたの好きに考えるがよい。
There were no signs from the witch's expression that she was sneering at a person unable to answer the tough question thrust upon them. She was earnestly asking something out of him, and he could even feel a quiet determination. Even as the rain beat upon him, Batter could not shift his eyes from her gaze. The witch threw her umbrella away. She abandoned herself to the falling rain, so that the rain would fall on her until Balor answered that question. She had chosen to join him, allowing the rain to beat down on her as well, until it reached an answer. For some reason, Balor could tell that, but even so, he didn't understand.
いや、まあそれを言われりゃ幼稚だったとは思うぜ。何のかんの言ったって親父に育ててもらった恩は親父が再婚したからってチャラになるもんじゃねえ。親父は養育費は常に送り続けてくれたそうだし、学校の行事にも参加したいと言っててくれたそうだ。それを俺が絶対に来させるなとじいちゃんたちに言ってたから来させ。確かにそりゃ俺の幼稚な反抗だったとバッサリ言われりゃそれまでだぜ。いやでもよ、ならよ、おふくろの後ろ宮アスムの無念は誰が晴らすんだ。おふくろはあんなにも献身的に俺たち家族に尽くし頑張ってくれたんだぜ。なのに親父はキリエさんと浮気もしていた。園児を身ごもらせてさえいた。それで出産に合わせて駆け込むかのように籍を入れたんだ。それがおふくろへの裏切りでなくて何なんだよ。おふくろの無念は誰が晴らすんだよ。だがお前の言う通りでもあるさ。浮気は事実でも俺を育ててくれた恩は確かにあった。ならそれを相殺して俺が家を出ていくというので十分問題ねえじゃねえかよ。そうさ、俺にはおふくろの代わりに親父をぶん殴る権利が、いや義務があったはずなんだぜ。それを俺は許した。何も言わずに出て行って初めから俺なんていなかったことにしてやった。親父も俺のことなんか忘れてキリエさんやエンジェと新しい家族を始めた。それで丸く収まってるじゃねえか。
But 6 years passed after that. Time healed the anger. Kirie-san understood my anger as well, and she tried hard to interact with me despite that, and softened my heart. Angie didn't know anything about the situation, and she adored me, believing that I was her real big brother who just lived in a separate house. As for Dad, he was acting like nothing had happened, and told me I could come home anytime I wanted.
だんだんバカらしくなってきたんだよ。そろそろ俺も頭を冷やしてもいいかなって思ったんだ。だから俺は親父が謝ったら全部水に流すと言ってやったんだ。じいちゃんの葬式の日に。そしたらあいつ 本当に畳に両手をついて詫びやがったよ。信じらんねえくらいに情けない格好だった。あの格好つけた親父が本気で頭を下げやがったんだぜ。それを見たらなんだかもうバカらしくなっちまった。きっとおふくろもそう思っただろうぜ。おふくろは俺と親父が喧嘩をするといつも笑いながら仲裁してくれて、なんだそんなくだらないことで喧嘩をしていたのと笑ってくれた。俺はおふくろがそう言って笑っているのを感じたんだよ。だから許すとまでは言えなかったけど、もう一度ゼロから始めてもいいかなって思ったんだよ。それで6年前に全てを巻き戻すことにした。それで後ろ宮家に席を戻したんだよ。俺も6年間泣き怒り悩み抜いた。ひょっとするとそれは親父もそうだったろうし、死んだおふくろもそうだったかもしれない。あるいは桐江さんやエンジェもそうだったかもしれない。だからゼロに戻し後ろ宮バトラに戻ったんだ。それは俺たち家族の問題であって、後ろ宮家とかそんなのは何も関係ねえ。それを罪だと断じる資格はお前にないし、それをお前に懺悔する義務も俺にはない。もしそれを本当にすべき相手がいたとしたら、それはお前がもう全員殺した。だから俺は何も謝らない、懺悔しない。それが俺のこのテストへの答えだ。
それだけか。
何？
I pretty much fully responded to her provocation. And I was sure that I vented out all the stuff that I've been keeping inside my chest. Stuff that I hadn't wanted to show anyone. That was what the witch had supposedly been hoping for, too. And yet, the witch's blank expression didn't change in the slightest. I had been sure she would start cackling and guffawing, sneering at my childish, foolish, and shameful past. But to the contrary, I could feel a sense of shock about her. Something you could almost call disappointment. To be honest, I'm not even sure. Like, it can go two ways. Either Battler here is lying about the actual reason for why he left the family, and Beatrice knows the actual reason and wanted Battler to say it. Or him leaving the family is not what Beatrice wanted to hear, but something else. Thing is, though, like, what is it? What could drive a person like Beatrice to kill an entire family just so that we would reach this point for Battler to remember his past? Like, what could it be? Like, if it was something so horrifying that Beatrice would want to do all this, then you would think that Battler would remember it. Or, as I said, maybe Battler actually knows the reason, but he doesn't want to admit it, which makes Beatrice disappointed in him, in that sense.
それだけも何も俺は洗いざらいをぶちまけたぜ。何が不満なんだよ。
まだ罪の清算が足りぬ。
清算？なんだよ。親父みたいにここに土下座して謝れってのかよ。
違う。お前たち家族のお前の家での話になど興味はない。 ここはどこだ。六軒島だ。後宮本家の本宅である。この場所にふさわしいそなたの思い出すべき罪があるのではないか。
他に俺に罪があるってのかよ。
思い出せ。後宮バトル。そしてそれを思い出せぬことがそなたの罪だからこそ許そう。それを思い出せたなら許そう。それを思い出すことがそなたへの贖罪のテストである。
思い出せって言われてもよ。
思い出せ。だからこそ罪なのだ。
悪いがベアト、俺には身に覚えがさっぱりだ。なんだか6年前の俺がお前に迷惑をかけたみたいな雰囲気だが、俺はお前とは今回の親族会議が初対面のはず。確かにお前の伝説は6年前の当時にも存在していたが、俺との面識は当時にはなかったはずだ。
無論である。6年前の六軒島においてわらわはまだ権限していない。
なら俺に何の罪があるってんだ。俺にお前に対する罪が何かあるってのか。
同じことを二度言わせるな。わらわは6年前には権限しておらぬ。そなたと面識などあろうはずもない。そなたという世界において存在しないも同じだ。
Bato's cold eyes felt as though they were accusing me of some kind of sin. You were not manifested yet 6 years ago, as if you did not even exist. Again, talking in riddles here, Beatrice. Oh, fine. You yourself, Bato, have not been, quote-unquote, manifested years ago. But let me guess, at that time, you existed as someone else. Someone who better knew at that point. And, hell, maybe currently knows in the present as well, but doesn't remember who you were referring to. It felt, on the face of it, as though she was still holding a grudge for some way I treated her, and was criticizing me for it. However, I obviously couldn't remember doing anything like that to her. And Bato had said so herself. There was no link between us 6 years ago. 6 years ago, no person called Bato Riche existed for me.
ヒントくらい出せよ。その罪とやらは俺とお前に関係がある。
わらわは6年前にはそなたと縁がない。わらわのことはいい加減に考えから外せというのだ。なぜわらわへの罪だと思うのか。
お前の目さ。
目？ほう。
お前の目がさ、詫びろって俺に囁いてくるんだよ。だが俺はお前なんか6年前に縁はねえし、それはお前も認めたはずだ。
And it can very well be true. It's not you, Beatrice, who Balor committed a sin against. But at the same time, it is you. It is both you and not you at the same time. I am referring to you as a human being here. Again, you're speaking in riddles here. And for that, my answer would be that we are talking about a completely different personality of yours that you claim. And whoever that person is, that is who Balor has to apologize for.
本当なのか？本当に俺とお前の問題ではないのか？
I mean, it was stated in red as well that Beller had no connection with Beatrice, or capital Beatrice. And we know that capital names are usually assigned to witches, to those of magical beings, like Beatrice, Angie, or Evatrice and such.
違うというのに、わらわとそなたの問題など全く関係ないわ。
だがよ、お前の目がそうだと言ってるんだよ。だから俺にはさっぱりわからねえ。赤で言えるが、お前が思い出すと言っている罪が俺とお前の間のものではないと宣言できるか？
よかろう。
The sin I am now demanding that you remember is not between Ushirumiya Beller and Beatrice.
なら、なぜそんな目で俺を見る？
Yeah, so which names are read in the capitals, whereas normal human names are read normally? Even if it's not the witch Beatrice, your name could also be Beatrice, but in a human perspective. So you're saying that he should apologize to either human Beatrice or someone else.
わからぬ。わらわはそなたをこうして淡々と見つめているだけだ。それをそなたがそう感じるというのならば、それはそなたにそう感じる何かがあるのではないか。
俺に何の罪があるってんだ？
後宮バトラには罪がある。
どんな罪だってんだ？どうせ叩いたとかごまかしたとかくだらねえ罪だろ。
そなたの罪で人が死ぬ。
It is also a really weird thing. Like, the thing that keeps popping into my head is that this is a sin that Beller didn't even think it was that bad, like at the time, like 6 years ago, and so he forgot. But in your eyes, it is a huge deal.
嘘つけ！俺は誰も殺してなんかいない。じゃあ言えよ。俺が誰を殺した？いつ？誰を？どうやって？
そなたの罪によりこの島の人間が大勢死ぬ。誰も逃さずすべて死ぬ。
何をわけわかんねえこと言ってんだ。俺がみんなを殺したって言うのかよ。俺は殺人鬼か？
そなたが直接手を下すわけではない。しかしそなたが罪を犯したからこそ6年にもわたる歯車の狂いにて歪みが生じ、今夜これだけの人命が失われるのだ。そなたはこの惨劇の原因の一つである。
いい加減にしろ。俺が原因だ。じゃあなんだ？俺が6年前に後宮の席を捨てたから13人が死んだってのか？俺が6年ぶりに後宮家に帰ってきたから13人が死んだってのか？ふざけるな。いい加減にしろ。俺はこの6年間最も後宮家から遠ざかっていた男だぜ。その俺が何に何のどんな影響を与えたってんだ。俺だって好きで親族会議に来たわけじゃねえぞ。6年ぶりによりを戻したからこれまでの期間のけじめってことでしぶしぶと六軒島まで来たんじゃねえか。別に俺は今日ここへ来る義理なんてなかったんだ。 その俺が帰ってきて、それが理由で惨劇が起こった？じゃあなんだ？俺が帰ってこなけりゃ誰も死なずに済んだってのか？赤で言えよ。俺がもし帰ってこなかったらこのおかしな殺人事件は起こらなかったと赤で言えるのかよ。言えるわけねえさ。お前が全ての犯人なんだからな。苦笑要求。後宮バトラがもしも六軒島に戻ってこなかったら事件は起こらなかった。言えるものなら言ってみろ。言えねえだろ。言えやしないのさ。犯人はお前なんだ、俺じゃない。勝手にその責任を俺になすりつけるんじゃねえ。答えろよ。赤で苦笑してみろってんだ。できやしない。事件に俺の存在なんか関係ないのさ。わけのわかんねえことを言って俺を混乱させるんじゃね
I began to remember that the raindrops pounding down were cold. The rain earlier had just hurt, and I felt a tormenting cold from those raindrops.
何も思い出すことはないのか？
悪いが俺にはさっぱり心当たりがねえ。おい、俺は少しイラつき始めてんだぜ。言いたいことがあるなら言えよ。俺に恨みがあるなら堂々と言えばいい。思い出せなんていやらしい言い方をするんじゃね
え。もう一度聞く。何も罪。
ああ、何にも思い出せねえな。
何も思い出せぬというか、これにて未練は尽きたか？望みなき賭けも賭けねば未練が残ろう。それでよいのだ。賭けることに意味がある。そうかもしれぬな。ならばこれにてわらわの未練もゲームも終わり。そなたはどうする？さあな。わらわはもう何の興味もない。すまぬがわらわはこれにてゲーム版を降りさせてもらいたい。そうか、わかった。後のゲームはわらわが引き継ぐ。そなたは休め。後のことはすべてわらわが終わらせる。そなたはすべてを忘れて枕に顔をうずめよ。羽の布団はそなたをすべてから優しく守ってくれるだろう。後片付けを頼む。任せよ。後のことはすべて任せ眠れ。
The witch who had questioned Bella hid herself, and the other witch, who had appeared from behind, remained. She was certainly identical, the same witch, but her expression was somehow indifferent and ice cold. A far cry from the one before, whom, though apparently drunk, had at least been in high spirits.
おい、聞いてるのか？テストとやらもう十分だろ。合格だろうと不合格だろうとどうでもいいぜ。 お前の横っ面をぶん殴ってやらなきゃ気が済まねえ。降りてきやがれ。さもなきゃここの扉を開けやがれ。
The witch said nothing back. Oi, Batora. I think that you yourself should calm down here, you know. I mean, I get it. The entire family is dead, and hell, it can very well be possible that Beatrice did it, but I think that you should calm down here and, you know, not insult her like that. If she was a cold-hearted killer, then there would have been no reason for her to ask you such things. Like, even if it's something you do not remember, it clearly shows that whatever this is means a lot to her. And that is not something that you should disrespect, you know. Her eyes were as cold as Bella's shoulders. She was clearly a different person from the one who had first appeared on the balcony. The witch looked hard into my eyes, and gave 2 small shakes at the end. Even without words, I was able to gather that she was expressing some kind of disappointment. Without saying anything, the witch turned on her heels. After that, only Bella remained, the cold rain still beating down on him. The study was in the middle of a lively party. It seemed that Gap was making fun of Virgilia, teasing her over some stupid triviality. They were spitting ya 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 and gap 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 at each other. Kinzo and Ronoe had opened a new bottle and were enjoying the show.
Oh, 戻ったか。どうであったか、バトラのテストの結果は。マリアのテストは文句なしに合格点であったぞ。あやつを小娘小娘とわしは長いこと侮っていたが、これはどうしていやはやなかなか。
It seemed like Kinzo was dead drunk. He left towards Beato with the same level of excitation as the time they left for these tests. However, Rono and Virgilia instantly noticed the change in her enthusiasm. Gap also froze her expression and went silent.
どうしたベアトリーチェよ、我が最愛の魔女よ。酒が足りぬか、魚が足りぬか。土砂降りを浴びながら牛でも丸焼きにしようか。おお、悪くない。ロノウェ、早速準備をせよ。ベアトリーチェよ、バトラのテスト結果は後だ。まずはスペアリブで乾杯といこうではないか。
お前が丸焼きになるがよい。
何?
As Kinzo doubled over laughing in a great mood, the witch who had spoken bluntly passed him coldly by. And then, behind the witch's back, the old summoner's body suddenly went up in flames. While spitting crimson flames from his eyes, mouth, nose, every hole in his body, Kinzo rolled around. Even though it was a terrible hellfire, it didn't burn anything except Kinzo. Kinzo didn't have a clue what was going on. He whirled around, unable to understand why Beatrice, who had been in such a good mood, had suddenly turned so cold. The dancing silhouettes of witches and demons created by that massive rolling torch It looked like a group of excited spectators around, burning at the stake. However, the eyes of the demons watching over it were indifferent. When Kenzo finally stopped moving, the fire disappeared, leaving a pitch-black corpse. The inside of the room was commanded by the stillness of the sound of the rain.
どうなさいましたか、お嬢様。
今日が冷めた。その邪魔な燃えかすを片付けよ。